Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to create a storage queue in Azure. So if you look at the Microsoft website, you will see it says that like what is a storage queue? So an Azure storage queue is a device for storing large number of messages. So you can messages from anywhere in the world via authenticated call using HTTP or HTTPS. So the reason that every time before I commence a lab, I would visit Microsoft website just to making sure that I'm up to date with the latest article that that come out. So a storage queue is not too much of a lot of things, so that you can see here. So Microsoft doesn't really have that much um article regarding this. So let's say it's a storage account, so all access to Azure storage is done through a storage account. So for more information on storage account capacity and stuff like that, so in queue and messages. So look, let's not wasting time. Why don't you just go ahead and pull up the Azure portal and start creating this queue. So first thing first, we could type in storage queue, right? Storage queue. All right. Um, so first of all, before to create a storage queue, you have to have a storage account. By the way, let me just go back here and see if this is still effective. So it's not. Let's just go ahead anyways. And just think. So let's just go ahead and create a storage account. So we could click create and bang. Let's create a new resource group. I'm gonna call this RG1. I'm gonna click OK. I will call it storage whatever. Storage one. Let's call it STR. STR123. Okay, so the problem is it wanted to be in lowercase. Okay. STR1, STR12, STR3. Huh. Okay. Let's call it SRT then. Okay. Oh man, all these names. All right, so let's call this SAM. SRT. Okay. Now, if you want to, you could put this on whatever region that meets your requirement. I mean, I'm gonna leave everything else as default since this is already on the East US one. So I'm gonna click advanced. I can leave everything else at default. Networking, leave everything else at default, and create my storage. Okay. Now it's running final validation, and now let me go ahead and just go ahead and create it. So all right, so it's deploying is in progress. So now what we can do is so by the way, if you may ask, what is this? What is storage queue in Azure? So Azure Storage Queue is a service for storing large amount of messages. You can access messages from anywhere in the world via authenticated calls using HTTP or HTTPS. A queue can be up to 64 kilobytes in size A queue may contain millions of messages up to the total capacity limit of a storage account. So let's just go to resources, and then from resources on the left hand side, you would click on queue. Now let's just click OK, and let's go ahead and give a name to our queue. Right? So let me call it queue. Let me just call it queue, yes. Now there go my queue. Let me refresh it. So I can add a message into my queue. So now that we create the queue, we have, now you may ask like, okay, so create a queue. What is the purpose of a storage queue? Well, a queue storage delivers asynchronous messages between application components, whether they are running in the cloud or on the desktop, on-premises server or on mobile device. Queue storage also supports managing asynchronous tasks and building process workflows. So the main goal, that's the main goal of a queue. So now we click on create a message, add a message. Let's just say, let's add, I create this queue for demo purposes. That's just a message, right? Purposes. Now, we could say, okay, so this message will be expired in 7 days or even more than that. If I want to, I could type in here like in 15 days. It says, please select a value between 1 second, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 1 second and 7 days. So we can go beyond 7 days. So that's why, so we have days, hours, minutes, and second. So 7 days is the longevity, that is the most longevity that you could go when creating a queue. So now you could say like encode the message body in base 69. So encode the message body in base 69. So basically what that is that like I'm sorry, base, I can speak today. Base 69 encoding, it uses a 64 character alphabet encoding method and output pattern character defined by PEM to encode the message body data. So base 64, base 64, not 69. I apologize for that. So base 64 encoding creates a predictable increase in message size and is optimal for binary data and non-US ISC.II text. So if you wonder what is base 69, so the fundamental of base 69 is used to encode binary data. That's the answer, as printable text. So this allows you to transport binary over protocol or mediums that cannot handle binary data format and require simple text. So that's what that is. So I just want to make sure that every time we create a lab, we explain to you in details what are the different steps. What is this? Why we do that for? What's the reason we choose this over that? You know? So let's just go ahead and hit create here. Now we create a storage message queue. That's all that is into it. So if you wanna, let's say for instance, if you would wanna add another message, you could just, click on add. So you already have a message. You could at this time say, okay, creating a second message second message is enough for this lab, sorry, for this lab purposes. So now say for instance, let's say, so this is the expiration is in 7. So this time I could put this for 7 hours instead of 7 days. And again, I already explained to you what is encoding the message body in base 64 is what that is. I break that down for you just as this the Windows is already selected this by default. So once you like browse into this this dot here, you see it says that if you choose not to encode in base 64, your message may be URL encoded to take the HTTP request valid. So base 64 encoding is only available for messages in the Latin 1 character set. So let's go ahead and just hit OK. So now that's about 2 messages so far that we have added into our Azure queue. So now you may ask, like, how do I use, how do I use queue storage in Azure? So it's as simple as it is. You just create an Azure storage account, and you create the app, and you add the Azure client library, and you add support for asynchronous code, and you create a queue, you insert the message into the queue, you dequeued the message, or either you delete it and empty that queue, as you would like. Now, before we end this lab today, if you may wonder what's the difference between Azure queue and Azure storage queue, well, the Azure, so so um so Azure Service Bus Queue offers orderly with FIFO, which is first in and first out mechanism. But storage queue does not support ordering. So in Service Bus Queue, the maximum queue size is very low when compared with the storage queue. That's all that is into it. Now, the other question again is that what is the benefit of Azure Queue? Well, for handling high volumes of messages, Azure Queue Storage provides a simple, cost-effective, and long-lasting messages queuing solution. So one of the most useful functions of the storage queue is to start a background process asynchronously. You can only include data in the message. So thank you so very much, guys. I appreciate every time you guys stop by into my channel. Stay tuned for another lab configuration. I'll see you in the next lab. All right, bye-bye.